Welcome to the Hawkcast with your host, AJ Hawk.
Tom Crabtree, former teammate of mine, fellow Ohio native too. So, Crabby, appreciate you jumping on the podcast with me. You're very, I've enjoyed your Twitter game for many years now, Tom.
It's an interesting account. I don't know. I think I'm a lot different in person. People meet me in person or hang out with me in person. I'm a little more low key. Based on my Twitter account, you would think I'm some maniac that's, center of attention all the time. But I don't know. I don't think I am in person anyways.
No. Yeah. Well, my favorite thing about your Twitter account is that you're not scared to really go after people, especially like high-ranking media members. Who would you say your favorite target is to go after and make comments to?
Oh man, it's fun to call people on their crap. Obviously, Skip Bayless he's like the guy for BS, and I get it. That's his role, that's his gig, and he's getting paid to do it. So I can't fault him for that, but at the same time, it's like I mentioned something to him the other day, and he probably didn't hear it. But I tweeted something at him the other day about him being a sellout and that being his legacy, just basically crapping on guys. And I don't know. That's not for me. Good for him if he enjoys it and it puts food on the table. But, God, I can't stand that guy.
It puts like $6 million a year on the table. I think that's what he got now.
Exactly. So, I don't know. Is he really like that in person? I don't know. Is it an act? Maybe. But I hate the act. So
yeah, you're not the only one. There's plenty of people with you. I don't know. It's a weird thing that seems to come up on here every once in a while is people that have worked with Skip or know of him or different media people all seem to have their own idea of him or guys like him. But that's kind of the culture now of TV, I feel like, is the whole hot take deal. And that's like wherever you turn, I think they're looking for personalities and not as much reporting, I guess. I don't know. People just want to be entertained. Either they want to watch because they hate him or they want to watch because they love him. And I think more people like to hate who's on the TV almost.
Yeah, I think it's kind of at a point where, like you said, it's more entertainment. Like, you can't put him in the reporting and news category at all. He's almost an actor up there. It's a totally different thing compared to a guy like Schefter who is, reporting like breaking news and those type of guys. But I don't know. It's totally different. I can't stand the guy, obviously, but I don't know. And then people get mad when I respond to him or not respond. It's not like he talks to me. It's a one-way conversation, but people get mad. They're like, don't give him the attention and stuff. I'm like, he's got all the attention. Me tweeting at him is not going to make a difference. I think it's more for me. It's like I'm able to vent when I call him an asshole and or whatever. I don't know. Can I cuss on your podcast?
Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, whatever you want.
Okay, sweet. So I think it's more for me just being able to vent and call him on his crap.
And then I'm sure you get a lot of responses from other people that are most people on board with you when you go after him.
Yeah, that's the thing that's crazy too. I don't understand. I don't know what happened to where he's employed to the extent he is and paid the way he is. I don't know if I've met anyone that enjoys him. It's the weirdest thing. Nobody likes him and he's doing well, I guess. I don't know. Ratings are down from what I hear. I do keep track of the ratings. The ratings suck for his new show on FS1. I don't know, man. But it seems like most people are on board with my opinion on the guy.
Yeah, well, I think it's the whole thing. Haven't you heard the old Howard Stern quote? People that love him listen for 5 minutes, and people that hate him listen for 10.
Yeah, that's true. It's absolutely true.
It's something like that. There's something with our.
It's easy to sit there. It's easy and boring to sit there and listen to a guy all day that you agree with. It's like it gets old. It's like, yeah, obviously. That makes sense. Whatever this guy's take is, it makes sense. But Skip is so out of this world with some of his takes. It's it makes my blood boil. I'm getting heated talking about it sitting here. I just don't get it. And like you said, I'll sit there and argue with myself listening to him talk or tweet and whereas a guy that I agree with, that's not the case. I'm like, oh, this guy makes sense. And then I move on to the next thing.
Well, I guess he's one then. He has one if we're going to sit there and watch to get upset. What is that in our brain that we have that where we want to – I don't know. It feels – I have a couple podcasts I listen to that have taken a downhill slide and they're not very good anymore, but I listen because it feels good to almost like get mad at how terrible it is.
Right. I think there is some – dude, it's the same thing like on my Facebook page, like my personal Facebook page. I've got friends, and then with this being an election year, all the arguing and bickering, like you're not going to make a difference like making a post or like shouting at somebody on Facebook, but like I think more for me, like it feels good. I don't know. It's kind of it comes from a selfish place, I think.
Just feels good to get it off your chest, I guess. When you were playing, did you ever have any teams, whether Green Bay or anywhere else, where they were upset at your tweeting or anything public forums?
No, I don't think I ever had anybody, come out and say anything. I was always, and I still am, kind of careful. I understand like freedom of speech. Everybody wants to talk about freedom of speech, but I also am kind of aware that there are consequences. You can say whatever you want, but there will be consequences. Like if you're employed by somebody or whatever, or in your personal life, there could be consequences. So I'm kind of aware of that. So I don't go like too far off the deep end, I don't think. So I try to censor myself a little bit. That's probably not exactly 100% me uncensored on Twitter. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. There's kids that if you talk to anybody that works in any real like business world, they'll go back and read like the last 3 or 4 years of their Facebook posts and Twitter before they even give them the interview. So it's going to be a whole new world moving forward. I feel like it already has started to where, I don't know, I guess employers you have to be a little bit more lenient with who you interview and who you have, because every kid growing up is going to have multiple things that are pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the fact that you can go back, like you said, a few years ago, like a post or a tweet that you thought was innocent at the time, well, maybe the guy that you're about to interview with, he doesn't agree with you, and he sees that, and you've lost before you've even gotten your foot in the door. So I try to be careful what I say, but at the same time, there are things I'm passionate about and that I speak out about, and that mean more to me than a job or this friend over here. What's he going to think? Am I going to lose this friend I talk to twice a year because I say this on this topic? So there are things in that regard that mean a lot to me that I'll still speak out on. But, then there's other things like I won't say, insanely stupid things or anything too vulgar online just because it's not really necessary and it can come back and bite you. So.
Yeah, are you really a Nickelback fan? I know you and Aaron Rodgers always go back and forth with that, and that always seems to be his calling card to you, is something about Nickelback.
Nah, I mean, I don't like if they're on the radio, I won't like rush to completely shut them off, but I don't like at the same time I don't have the album. I don't have like any of their albums, like a collection of albums somewhere. But yeah, we do joke about it. It became a running joke even when I was playing there. He was giving me crap about that.
Yeah, is that just because your tattoos, because your double sleeves? He believes that you grew up in Nickelback?
Right, big hard rock guy, which is true to an extent. I live up to some stereotypes, but at the same time, it's like, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, they're not terrible. I mean, they're pretty awful at times, but I don't have any of their albums sitting in my house. I'll say that.
Well, it became the thing to do is for some reason, whatever, I don't know when, but it became like the thing to kill Nickelback no matter what. Like if you were, I don't know, if you had some kind of opinion that wasn't good or people didn't agree with it, they just assumed it was like, oh, yeah, you probably listened to Nickelback back in your bedroom by yourself.
Right. That's kind of going off of the Skip Bayless thing. You'll never meet anyone who claims to be a Nickelback fan, but they are hugely successful. Look up, Google how many albums they've sold, and I don't have any idea. It's got to be tens of millions, maybe. Mm-hmm. And how much money they've made, yet you can't find anyone that will claim them or, claim they're a fan. It's pretty interesting.
Oh,
Same with Skip Bayless. Everybody hates the guy, and there he is, jumping from ESPN to Fox Sports, and he's on top of the world.
Yeah, he keeps getting promoted, man. It is, but I'm gonna quickly pivot over to your football career and everything you did there. So where were you? What was the first team you were with before you joined Green Bay?
So I was undrafted out of college. Went to Kansas City with the Chiefs, and that was I believe the first or second year. Todd Haley and Pioli were running the show there. And then I was there for a couple months. I mean, I went through OTAs, training camp, and then I made the practice squad there for a few weeks. And then they let me go like week 3 or 4 from the practice squad. And at that point, I was not with anybody for a couple months. I was working out on my own. I still lived in Kansas City, but I was working out at a local place there. And then I got the call to work out with Green Bay, and eventually they signed me to the practice squad, and that was in 2009, the 2009 season. So a year before the Super Bowl, they put me on the practice squad up in Green Bay, kind of at the end of the year.
And then when did you officially become signed to the active roster?
So that would have been, I made it the following year, 2010. I made the roster straight after, like right after camp. I made the final roster. So, which I think, was that the year, was that a 52? Didn't they bump it up a little bit? I think I made the 52-man roster. Isn't it like 53 now or something?
Yeah, it's 50. It's 53, and then I think they added like 2 practice squad guys now or something.
Yeah. So I made it. Yeah, I made the final 52 or 53 or whatever it was. But so yeah, and then I was on there for that whole run that year and for a couple years after.
Now, going into that training camp when you were on the practice squad previous, did you expect to make the team, or were you nervous going into final cuts?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous. Just because you hope you have some self-awareness. I was never a guy. I always kind of I don't know how to describe it. I always kind of underestimated myself and my abilities, I guess. So I always thought, I was hard on myself. There's no chance I'm making the team. There's a chance, but I never thought that's what kept me motivated and working, was the thought that, I'm not good enough and all this. So I was scared. I mean, right up until I got the final call, I talked to Coach McAdoo, who was the tight end coach at the time, and he called me and said I made it that final cut day. It was like a Saturday or something. And so, yeah, and I felt good about it, but you play the numbers game in your head, which they tell you not to do, but everybody does it. So, I mean, I was pretty worried, but, it worked out.
Now, you mentioned Ben McAdoo. At that time, he was the tight ends coach in Green Bay. Right now, he is currently the head coach for the New York Giants. Did you ever foresee him becoming not only a coordinator, but a head coach?
That doesn't necessarily go through your head when you're playing for a guy, and he's your position coach. But after the fact and like looking back at it and seeing how he's progressed, it totally makes sense. He was such a good coach. He was always very constructive with his criticism, super smart, obviously. He just knew the ins and outs of the offense. Even as a tight end coach, he knew, and that was the cool thing. He wanted us to be in tune with what the receivers are doing and thinking, the line. So he kind of wanted us to be very well-rounded and know what everybody on the offense is doing. And so I think that makes sense. Kind of looking back at it, it's like, yeah, he's definitely, got what it takes. So it's not that I'm qualified to hire an NFL head coach or anything, but yeah, I think looking back at it, he's totally qualified, and it makes sense.
Now, can you remember that just in that 2010 season, who the tight ends were in your tight end meeting room?
Oh God, you put me on the spot.
Well, I'm just trying to think. So it was Jermichael Finley. Yeah. Was Spence Havner.
Me, J-Mike, D. Lee, Donald Lee.
Oh yeah.
Spencer, I think he was there more towards the end of the season.
Yeah, he did. He came back, actually. Yeah, he came back before, and he got a ring, but he came back later.
Right. And then I think that was Corliss's rookie year. Andrew Corliss.
Yeah, probably.
That was his rookie year. That might have been the group there.
Yeah, so how was that meeting room?
I'm missing someone right now.
I don't think you are. If we are, we'll cut it. We'll cut it later. We'll add him in. As we do.
Because the following year, they brought in DJ Williams and Ryan Taylor and those guys. So that was a year or two later. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, how was that meeting room with those guys? Because I know those guys, and that's a lot of unique personalities all in one room. What was the culture like in there, especially with Ben running the show?
Oh, it was all over the place. But looking back at it, it's like it's a miracle we got some work done, and I think that's a credit to Ben. He was able to take, so many different personalities and bring them together and force us to focus in the meeting room for 20 minutes at a time. And,
so many different guys that are so ADD at the same time in one room.
Oh man. D. Lee in his bathroom break. D. Lee, he would dip out. It was like clockwork. He would leave the meeting. It didn't matter. We'd be in there 5 minutes. If that clock struck like 2:00 or whatever time it was, he was up out of his chair. He had to go take a bathroom break. I think he just walked the hallways or something. But he was older at that time and set in his ways. So it was an interesting group. And then you had J. Mike and another interesting character.
Yeah, who do you think the best tight end is that you ever played with at any level? Can you think of it?
Oh, man. I would say so. I was most recently with New Orleans for a few weeks in 2014. Jimmy Graham was pretty awesome to see up close. Not only the physical talent, but man, that guy behind the scenes, his work ethic, his knowledge of the game and the offense was pretty awesome too. So, I'd say he'd have to be up there as far as like physical, freakish talent. Obviously J. Mike's in that discussion too. And unfortunately he had that injury a couple years ago, which, cut things short, but yeah, I'd probably say J. Mike and Jimmy.
Yeah, I'd say those are two good. Does Jimmy get a bad rap? I feel like Jimmy gets the kind of the reputation of being like not a big time physical guy that can go across the middle and catch the tough balls.
Man, that's hard to say. I think maybe there is something to it because he does kind of have that reputation, so maybe there's a little bit to it. But I was still impressed with him physically, just his ability to kind of, and I don't know if you knew this, he played basketball, which everyone talks about.
Oh, yeah.
His ability to kind of create space for himself and separation and box guys out. So he was physical in that regard. Maybe he wasn't super willing to, get smacked in the head across the middle. I can't completely blame him, I guess. But,
yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, I saw something where I think it was Sports Illustrated, maybe they ran with some of your tweets about having, I think you said something like, I definitely have CTE. Did you see, I assume you saw that they posted in one of their articles. Do you have how many documented concussions do you think you have?
I don't have hardly any documented. I think I had one in college documented that I missed. I was unable to finish the game. And then, man, I don't think I even documented any in the NFL, even though I knew I had them because I had the one in Kent it was against Kent State, maybe in my junior or senior year of college. And I knew like something was wrong. Like I could hardly walk or think, like I was out of it. And I had that happen a few times in the NFL, but just undocumented. And, that goes back to it's your livelihood and it's you're kind of selfishly thinking in the moment that, I can't report this. I can't, this is what I do for a living and I can't afford to sit out or miss it or have the next guy step up. So it's unfortunate that that's the mindset. It'd be nice if there was a way to get away from that mindset. I think they're trying to, with the kind of the neutral, the doctors on the sidelines that noticed some of the symptoms and signs, but I still think they got a long way to go to figure it out.
Let me know if you think there's a better way, but I don't know how they're trying everything, I guess, when they have people on the sidelines that supposedly don't work for the team, and they check a guy out if they think he's got dinged up. But I don't think there's any – I think it all – 90% of it relies on the actual player that it happens to. Because if someone can't sit there, especially someone if these doctors didn't play football and they don't know what it feels like too at the same time to be dinged up, they can't really tell you when someone is. So I feel like it's a personal responsibility of the players to basically you have to self-report. That's really the only way you're gonna find a way to really get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, I mean that's the only way you'll get 100% of the guys that are concussed to sit out is if they go to the doctor themselves on the sideline and say, hey, I think I have a concussion. You check me out, test me. Like you watch games every week, and I see a guy instantly, like I see the way he took a hit and his body like went limp for a second, and it's plain as day on TV. And maybe that's part of it. It's hard in person. You don't have the TV angles, but I see it plain as day, like the way they go limp, and then he runs to the sideline or something. No one's there to talk to him. Like he was like unconscious for like 3 seconds, and nobody wants to check that out. Like, I don't know what the disconnect is there, if it's the luxury of having all the TV angles or if like they're turning a blind eye, or I don't know what it is, but man, it happens every week. It'll happen tonight in the championship game.
Yeah,
you'll see a guy get dinged, and he'll be back. He'll be in the game the rest of the game.
Yeah,
gotta win that championship, man. Screw your brain.
I mean, if it's a national championship, I don't know. You might have to keep your mouth shut.
It's true. I mean, who am I kidding? I probably would.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if the proper protocol was in place and they were serious about it, like you would see more guys get pulled out. So.
Yeah. No.
I don't know. It's
what does that feel like? Can you like explain how that concussion you had against Kent State? Like what did it feel like right before you got hit, and then after? What was it like? And then even the week following, like what happened? Where were you at?
So I was running down on a kickoff, and I did pretty well in college on kickoff team. I was always on kickoff team. I made a lot of plays, and that was kind of what got me my start. Kind of got the coach's attention. So I'd run down there, and there were a lot of instances where I would just get, a double team that wasn't expected, or I would get like blindsided. And this was a case where I got clocked, like blindsided, not even down the field. Like we had just taken off, and within like the first 15 or 20 yards, some dude from the front line just blasted me. And then I just, like physically, my body was like, man, it was almost like the best way to describe it is being like insanely drunk, like probably drunkest I've ever been. That's kind of the feeling go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You cut out for a second. Did you say you felt like insanely drunk?
Yeah. Yeah. That's how my body felt when I took the hit. It was kind of a similar feeling to being like very intoxicated. Like I was like, I had like no feeling in my body. Like I was like, I could topple over. I wasn't thinking straight. And eventually that went away after a few seconds. And then vision was a little blurry. I went to the sideline, and I told the trainers, I was like, I at least had the awareness for some reason that moment to tell them, like, I think I have a concussion. Like, could you check me out? And so yeah, and then I missed the rest of that game. So
you got up and ran off the field though after this hit?
I don't know that I ran off the field, but I definitely kind of staggered back to the sideline, and yeah, it was definitely, that whole moment is, from probably the first 5 or 10 minutes after that hit, it's all kind of a blur. Like I kind of remember it, but it was definitely blurry, and physically I was kind of stumbling around.
So did you miss any games after that?
No, I think I was back the next week. I forget who we played, but I think I was back the next week.
When did those symptoms go away? Or like, did you have headaches throughout the week and all the like loss of sleep and everything?
Yeah, not necessarily loss of sleep. I had some headaches for a couple days, a little bit of sensitivity to light. Um, so I basically sat in a dark room for a couple days in my dorm. But yeah, other than that, by the end of the week, I was good.
So how was that first hit the next game?
They must have been okay. I don't, I don't know, man. I don't remember it. I was so messed up. I don't even know. No, I honestly, so that was one documented concussion I had, and that was the one that stood out. There was never any other time where I was like, oh, I definitely, I need to be out of the game. And that's the other thing. It's tough too. There's so many like degrees, I guess, of like getting your bell rung.
Mm-hmm.
Like we all have that. That happens every game, probably.
Yeah.
So that's the other weird thing too. This was the most serious one where I was like, man, I can't, like physically, I felt like I couldn't even function, like borderline, I was going to be sick. The rest of the time, any other time I took a hard hit, it was kind of like, I got my bell rung, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think you said in that SI piece something about they asked, would you do if you knew all the dangers, would you do it all over again? You said I can't. I loved your response. You said something like, I can't answer that right now. You need to ask me in 50 years if I'm still here, if I still can answer this.
Right. That's the scariest thing for me is if the symptoms show themselves when I'm 80 years old or something, then fine. That's okay. I'm worried about, am I going to be like 40 and my kids are still kids and I'm getting these symptoms like, I'm losing my memory, I'm losing my mind, I'm physically, I can't function anymore. That's probably the scariest thing to me is to be, young still and have those symptoms pop up.
Are you gonna donate your brain to science whenever that time comes in 80 years?
I think so. I might as well. I don't know what the process is for that, but you have to like have it in writing or something.
Yeah.
Or,
just on your little Post-it note right before you die. Donate this, babe. Tell your wife.
Yeah. Take my brain and
point
check
your head.
it out.
See if
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a great question. Do you have to sign off on it with somebody? I would assume.
I wonder about that too, or if that's a thing you throw in your will, maybe. I don't know.
Does it need to be notarized? I don't know.
Possibly.
These are the questions. Well, so after Green Bay, though, you signed a 2-year contract with Tampa, correct? Was that with Greg Schiano as the head coach when he signed you?
Yep. That was with Greg Schiano. Yeah.
How was the culture different? I always like hearing this from people, from Green Bay to Tampa Bay.
It was a wake up call for sure.
What do you mean?
It was interesting going from Green Bay, which had a culture set, in place for many years and still does. And then going from that to Tampa, where I believe that was Schiano's second year, maybe. Don't quote me on that, but going from Green Bay to Tampa, and the coaches there were good, but it was just more of it felt like a college environment. So you're coaching these grown men that, a lot of them, have been in the league for many years. You're kind of coaching them how you would coach like a college kid that doesn't have a clue. So it was weird in that respect, like talking down to a player that's 30 years old and like has played for many years. It was just kind of a weird environment in that regard. Like I said, I enjoyed the coaches. I didn't have necessarily too many gripes. My tight end coach and I butted heads a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it was just it just kind of felt out of place. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I think then was Schiano gone after your first year?
Yeah. So after my first year in Tampa, they brought in Lovie Smith, and probably towards the end of that was the other thing too. I had always been lucky in my career as far as injuries go. No surgeries, no real setbacks. But then I got to Tampa. I got hurt really bad high ankle sprain in the preseason. So that right there out of the gate was rough because, they're trying to rush me back. And I'm trying to rush back too. I want to play. I want to, I want this new start to be a good experience. And I was just never the same. Coming back from a high ankle sprain, if you rush it at all, you suffer a setback pretty easily. And then towards the end of that season, I tore my bicep, and I was done for the year, put on IR, had to have surgery. Then they get fired, and Lovie Smith comes in, and I start to go through OTAs and all that good stuff with Lovie and his staff, and eventually they let me go. In that would have been in 2014 during OTAs and all that. So
you got let go before Lovie really coached his first game?
Yeah, I didn't really have a shot. I busted my butt. I came back from that torn bicep. Did a lot of rehab, and I missed some of the OTAs, but I busted my butt to get back, and I felt like things were going good. But evidently I wasn't in their plans, and he let me go.
So where did you go next after Tampa?
So after Tampa, I had some thinking to do. I was like, man, I had a couple bad injuries now in one season. It's been a lot of work to get back, to proving myself to Lovie and his staff, and it didn't work out. So now I'm like questioning, am I done? But I stuck with it, and I kept working out just on my own, running on my own, running routes on my own, working out at, the local Gold's Gym, basically. And I eventually, I had a couple workouts, but I eventually stuck on in the 2014 season with New Orleans for about a month. I stuck with them. I was never active for any games. That was a weird situation too. That's a whole other story. But
tell us?
It was cool to at least.
That's why we're here, Tom. You can tell us. I would love to hear.
It was cool to prove it to myself, to at least be able to come back from those injuries and have somebody notice me and get signed, even if I didn't play. So, yeah, I was there for 3 or 4 weeks, and they would cut me the day before the game. They would cut me on Saturday. I got cut basically on my way to the airport to get on the team plane before one of the games. I'm like, okay, I'm going to travel. And you at least have, as a player, if you're going to be active or inactive, you have a feel for that week. I've been on scout team all week, and I'm not in any of the game plan. Obviously, I'm going to be inactive, but that's okay. I'll work my way up. So I get to I start getting in my truck to get to the airport. I get a call that I've been released. I'm like, okay. So 24 hours before the game. So that was weird. That was week 1. I'm like, shit, that sucks. And they're like, but stick around. I think coach he likes having you around. He wants to keep you. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I stay in my hotel over the weekend, and they call me. They re-sign me that Monday or Tuesday. Sure enough, they re-sign me. And the same thing happens the following week. Except they're nice enough to give me a little more of a heads up this time. They're like, yeah, they let me know in the morning meetings on Saturday, hey, we're going to let you go. Come back Tuesday.
So why do they do that? Why do they cut you the day before and then re-sign you?
I think what they were doing was, so they were letting me go and bringing up a practice squad guy. And I don't really understand the logic behind it. There was some reasoning, but basically they wanted a practice squad guy to move up, and then they would turn around and basically a couple days after the game, they'd cut another guy and bring me back on. And it was weird. It was basically they wanted me as a practice squad guy, but I wasn't eligible for practice squad. So they were just I think that's kind of what it was.
It's a way of skirting the rules, maybe. I don't know. You might have broke some news on there, Tom.
Probably, I don't know. But I got paid, and I was there for a few weeks, so that was cool.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Either way, by cutting you before the game, you still got paid for that week, because I think the week starts on Tuesday at 4 p.m. when you're already on the team. So
yeah, so I got paid just as I would have if I played 60 plays in the game. It was no different.
So who calls you though? That first time when you got in your car to drive to the airport, who called you and said you got released?
Oh, man, I couldn't even tell. Actually, you know what? That first week, man, was it my agent? It might have been my agent. Like they got in touch with him or something, and then he talked to me. It was either my agent or like a personnel guy. Yeah, I couldn't tell you specifically. It wasn't Coach Payton or anything.
That's funny, man. It's a weird deal how that works. I know a lot of people don't know that happens a lot where guys will be in and out of the team. There's been times before where I've had friends that'll get cut and then be brought back, and I didn't know they were even cut. If they didn't tell me, they would hang out, and then all of a sudden they'd be back on. They'd re-sign them like Tuesday afternoon, and they're back to practice Wednesday. So they never really missed a day. They would like miss the game like you had.
Exactly.
And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, man, they let me go." I'm like, "Oh, sorry, man, that sucks." And they're like, "Oh wait, you're here Wednesday morning." It's a weird deal how they work the rosters all the time.
It's weird. Yeah, I mean, I had never seen that side of it because, like you said, it's when your spot is kind of secure, you're not kind of in tune to that side of the business, I guess. But it's weird. It definitely happens, and that was a weird experience. So that happened like 3 or 4 times. The 3 or 4 weeks I was there, it was same song and dance every time. I'd cut, resign. But I at least had a good time. You know, I'm out there practicing football a couple days a week, getting paid. I went to a Foo Fighters concert while I was out there. The team was probably like traveling or something. I was at the concert. It was a great time.
You get to relax on weekends and then take in the New Orleans culture. You're right. You're good.
Exactly. Explore Bourbon Street a little bit. It was fun.
And you get paid not like a practice squad player. You get paid like you were an active participant.
Yep. It's crazy.
It's a good way to look at it, man. It's not a bad deal. That's like I was in Atlanta for 3 weeks this year, and they didn't need me. They brought me in. I was like, all right, I wasn't really planning on going, and they called me like, hey, they had like 4 guys go down in 1 week, pretty much. Yeah. And I got there. I would dress signed like Tuesday, dressed on Sunday, and played a few special teams reps and was on like the goal line defense and backing them up. And then after that, all the guys came back. There was no need for me there, and they were awesome, though, man. They kept me 2 more weeks, so it was 3 full weeks, and they gave me another accrued season. So
that's crazy. I mean, that's awesome, man. It's I love stories like that because it's like, man, for as much as the owners are making, I love seeing some players get, into a good situation. And, that's good for you, man.
Yeah, they have a good thing going down there in Atlanta, man. You would have had fun if you get to play for Dan Quinn and those guys. Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff, the GM there. Like last week, I got a little handwritten card and an NFC South champs hat from them.
Seriously? That's awesome.
I texted to Coach Quinn's assistant girl, secretary. I was like, hey, tell Coach this is not needed, but thank you very much, and good luck in the playoffs, guys, because they're a first-class organization, man. It's cool what they have going on.
That's really cool. And I would say the same thing about Coach Payton and the guys in New Orleans. It was a good experience. I enjoyed, the month I was there. Same type of thing. It was definitely, they were doing things the right way, and it was cool to be a part of for a little bit.
So now, though, you live in Tampa?
So I'm like an hour and a half north of Tampa. I'm in a city called Ocala. It's probably similar in size to Green Bay, actually. Probably, I don't know, if I had to guess, roughly 100,000.
What made you choose there, being an Ohio kid?
So being in Florida a couple years, we definitely, especially for our kids and just for us, we just like, my wife is originally from Florida, Chelsea. She's from Florida. She was born down here. So she's got some family down here, and it just naturally worked out that way. I ended up in Tampa for a little while, and then we were like, if we're going to settle down somewhere since I'm done playing, let's make Florida the spot. So she's teaching down here, and the kids are happy down here, and we're not in the freezing cold. So
how old is your son now?
Bryce is 6.
Okay.
And my daughter Delaney is 4 now.
So I think your son is just a little. When's his birthday again?
October 14th.
He's a couple months older than my firstborn, my daughter, and I still remember. So when Bryce was born, You guys have big babies, man, in the Crabtree family. So they like sent shockwaves down that year in 2010. Like half the roster was pregnant in Green Bay, and my wife was due a couple months later. And what was your son? 10.5 pounds or something?
Oh, dude, he was a little over 11 pounds.
Oh my God.
He was 11. Oh, he was 11 and change, and my daughter was 11. She was 11 pounds as well.
What are you guys doing? What kind of steroids you taking, Tom?
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on, but It's crazy. I was pretty average. I think I was like a 7 or 8 pound baby. My wife was 8 or 9 pounds.
Jeez.
So I don't know.
See, my daughter came out. She was like 6 pounds 12 ounces. We're like, all right, we had nothing to worry about. Don't worry.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. They said 11 pounds. I've still got the video to this day.
Coming out a full-grown man, your son.
He came out and it was like a 2-year-old. It was insane. That was one of the first videos I think I recorded on my phone. Was in 2010. My first smartphone. I think I recorded him being weighed. I still have that video. They set him on the scale, and I was like, I about passed out when they put him on the scale. I'm like, oh my God.
Jeez, your wife is a trooper, man. That's for sure. Two 11-pound babies, basically. Pretty much double of all of my 3 kids I've had almost, but my biggest was 7'6" or something. But what are you doing down? What are you doing down in Tampa? What is your next? I don't know. What's keeping you busy?
So I've been doing a few things. I did for about the past year and a half, some real estate stuff down here. I got my real estate license. I've been doing that. And then I'm also kind of pursuing a marketing gig with a company. I see myself kind of fitting in that line of work, marketing, social media, PR, that type of thing. I just like, I like being around people, talking to people. And I kind of like that, I don't know, that gig kind of appeals to me. So.
Now I've seen you. I've been meaning to have you on for a while now. I see you went on the Part of My Take podcast, the Barstool guys.
Yep.
I know a lot of those guys reach out to you, and people tell you should start your own. Are you gonna do your own podcast eventually?
Yeah, I mentioned I had a little poll on Twitter last week, seeing if people would be interested. I think there's some interest there, so I might pursue it. It'd be fun, kind of. I don't know, maybe like a once a week type of thing to start off with and see how it goes. But yeah, I'm definitely thinking about it.
Yeah, you'd be good, man. Just because I think you have good view. You have how you view things going on, especially like in the media, the public, and you have a big time interest other than football that I think people find interesting. At least I know, following you on Twitter and seeing everything, it makes me laugh multiple times a week seeing a lot of the things that you say. I know you're gigantic Foo Fighters fans. Have they reached out to you? Have you had any contact with anybody in the band or managers or anything?
No, closest I've gotten, I saw them in Milwaukee in 2011 or something like that. At Summerfest, the big concert there in Milwaukee. And I saw Dave Grohl in passing at a hotel in Milwaukee. I didn't even expect it or get to say hi to him. My buddy and I I think we were staying there for the weekend. And sure enough, Dave Grohl comes hopping off the elevator, takes pictures with a couple people, and then he's on his way. And that was it. Oh, I met their keyboardist. You might not know that. They have like a full-time touring keyboardist, and he's actually a really cool guy. That was interesting. Sat down, had a beer with him.
Really?
And yeah. Well, other than that, man, Grohl is still elusive. I just want to shake his hand. I love that guy. He's awesome.
Well, he's like the most well-liked, like universally.
He's got to be
rock star on the planet. Like whatever he does, people just seem to eat it up because he seems so genuine. And I'm not even a big-time Foo Fighters fan. I'm a Dave Grohl fan, but I don't even know a whole lot of the Foo Fighters stuff, but he seems like whatever he's doing,
he's got his hands in everything. Like he did some drumming on the newest, which just came out like a week or two ago, the 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, 9 Inch Nails. They have they have a few new songs out, and Dave, he did the drumming on one of the songs, I guess. So he's got his hands in everything. It's crazy. He's like a producer, and all these bands he's working with. It's pretty cool.
You don't play any instruments?
I've attempted guitar, and I'm terrible. It's hard to pick up guitar when you're 25 years old. It's
And you have some big old meat cleavers for hands.
yeah.
That can't be good. They've been broken and dislocated multiple times.
Yeah, the crooked pinky right there doesn't help.
His pinky looks good for all the iTunes listeners. His video, switch to the video if you want to see Tom's awesome pinkies.
See my awesome pinky.
Yeah.
Picking up guitar at 25 when you don't have the time or the patience for it, it's not very good. I've got the guitar sitting in my closet collecting dust, and I don't know. My son Bryce is actually pretty interested. He likes rock music and guitar especially, so I might let him pass the guitar down to him.
Nice. What about coaching? You ever thought about getting into it?
Oh man, I'm torn on that one. A part of me wants to be close to the game again and be a part of that, but the other side of me is like, man, I don't have the patience, I don't think, to sit there and work with like high school kids. I think I would get so frustrated. It's terrible to say, but it's just because I'm so used to being around, like, for the last however many years, NFL guys. Like, even going back and watching a high school game, like, it's in slow motion. Like, it looks ridiculous. So I don't know. I'm torn. I never say never. I might do it someday. What about you? You getting into coaching?
Well, yeah, I have my big coaching gig coming up soon. This Wednesday, I have a coaches meeting for my daughter's six-year-old basketball league. So yeah, that's probably about as advanced as I'm going to go.
Yeah, same here. I'll help out with the kids, but man, I don't think I can do it. And you see it behind the scenes, like how the schedule, like the college and NFL coaches are on. No thanks.
No chance, man. No, those guys. First off, their wives are saints for raising their kids, being single parents for the kids, pretty much.
Yeah, because those guys are gone. They're gone year round. If they're not recruiting, they're in season. And same thing with the NFL guys. They're dealing with the combine and the draft, and then they're in season, and they're spending the night at the stadium watching film. It's ridiculous.
What do you think of those coaches that do spend the night in their office?
Man, I'm always of the opinion, do what works for you, but that wouldn't work for me, man. I'm not good at pulling all-nighters. Like in college, I did it, but I wasn't good at it. If it works for one guy, great, but man, I need some sanity. I need to be home. I need to veg out, play video games at some point and all that. I don't know if I can make it.
It's a weird thing. I think that culture, at least in the NFL, is changing a bit to where these younger, more like energetic type coaches are taking over, to where that used to be like the great. They would say that about these coaches. Oh, he spends the night in his office 3 nights a week, and I was like, that's not a compliment. I don't take that like it means he's working harder than the other guy. That just means he doesn't like his wife and kids.
Right. Yeah, I think you can if you're efficient enough and you're focusing on the right things, I think you can get all your work done by 6 p.m., 8 p.m. I don't think there's a need to bring a sleeping bag to the stadium.
And get terrible sleep, and then it spills into how you coach your players, though. Your young players will see that you're run down and you're drinking 87 cups of coffee and dipping three tins of Copenhagen a day.
Yeah, coffee.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. Oh, I'm going to
go ahead.
You froze for a second. Yeah, you all right? Oh, you're back.
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh,
no. I was just going to say, I agree, man. It's a tough lifestyle, the way some guys do it. I think other guys do it right. And even like Coach McAdoo, that's one thing I'll say about him too. He was pretty efficient. Like, we wouldn't just sit in there and watch film just to watch film. He wouldn't we weren't looking at the clock when we were watching film. We were looking at the film, which I think is kind of a cool way of looking at it. We're making sure we're getting work done. We're not just in there, okay, we got to be in here till 4 o'clock. And then you can go. I mean, if we were done at 3:30, then so be it. But there were days we'd stay late as a group, and there were days we were done early. So,
have you followed this dude, this Clemson defense, and how they're checking for oil and swiping dudes' butt cheeks?
Wow, I saw that. It was brought to my attention the first time. Like, was there a playoff game the other day, wasn't it?
Yeah, they got on camera.
Last week?
The D lineman got it against Ohio State. Well, what happened was
I don't get it. What's going on? Explain it.
One of the D linemen kind of like checked the dude's oil at Ohio State, And so then their middle linebacker for Clemson, Ben Boulware, who's awesome, he's a character. He was asked about it, and he I give him credit. He was standing up for his guys, for his team, and he went on this awesome rant. I don't know if you've seen it. He just said well, yeah, he got a little carried away. He might have got 4 fingers deep on that one. He said to the national media, and then he goes on this whole rant saying, if you think people are calling this sexual assault, that's garbage. If you think it's sexual assault, you're the kind of guy that's never played sports, that's for one, or you're the kind of guy that goes into the bathroom stall to change clothes because you're scared to shower with the team.
I didn't even see or hear any of that. All I saw was the clip of the guy 4 fingers deep, like you said. It was interesting. But I'll say this, I think I assume their reasoning is they're trying to get in this guy's head, right?
Yeah, and they even said they're just entertaining each other and having fun out there.
Right. They're having fun out there, and you see that on film. That's one of those things you'll replay and crack up about. I don't know. I mean, I don't really have a problem with it in that venue. If you're walking down the street doing that, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah. They're going to put you
do it on
put
the
in jail.
Field, but yeah, whatever. I mean, whatever works for you. If you want to sleep, spend the night at the stadium, that's fine. If you want to touch dudes' buttholes on the football field, that works too. Whatever works for you. And they're playing in the title game, so it doesn't matter. That got them there. Don't do anything different.
Yeah, do what got you to the dance. That's right.
Exactly. Touching buttholes got you there. Keep touching them.
And
I'm gonna be watching for tonight, though.
Oh, no doubt. But after he came out and defended his guys, naturally people went in and dissected all of their games, and there's 2 or 3 more clips of different players doing it, sticking their thumb at dudes, just crazy, real subtle movements throughout games that they've getting caught on film. So I think they said there's 90 cameras on the national championship game. So when we post this, it'll be after the game. It'll be funny to see if any of those make camera tonight.
I've got it on right now. It's we're a couple minutes into it. I haven't seen any touching of the b-hole yet, but dude, that's it's very interesting. Yeah, imagine this: there was some media guy probably sitting at home at this past week, sitting at home at 1 a.m, watching game film. His wife's like, "Honey, go to bed. Why are you watching this film?" He's like, "Honey, I'm trying to see if this guy's touching buttholes out here."
You're right.
Imagine that scenario. So that's another kind of way to think about that whole scenario. So.
No question. He's up late the night before watching the film, and so his wife's like, "Come on, the kids are crying. They need their oatmeal." He's like, "Honey, I didn't get any sleep. I was checking to see if they were thumbing buttholes last night."
I caught 2 of them already. I can't stop.
Look, breaking news. I got the clips. I'm going to post these.
There's a bigger story here. I'm going to break this.
For real. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, man. If they're going to do it. I made the prediction, and this is first for the record, Tom. You can verify. The game just started as we're taping this. This will go out after the game already is played. But I predict if Clemson is winning towards the end of the game, I could see a couple guys on Clemson maybe get a little frisky if the game is out of control.
It could be. I mean, the over-under. What's the over-under on touch buttholes?
Probably
for this game. It's kind of 3 or 4. 4.
Yeah,
4's a good number.
2.5 maybe. I think is the Vegas line. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see, man.
I take the over if Clemson's up big.
Yeah, if Clemson's winning, yeah, no doubt. Well, there's no question. These guys are they're crazy, man. They're fun. Well, Krabby, I'm gonna let you roll, man. We're gonna wrap this thing up. But where do you want people to find you? I know it's Crab on Twitter. That's your number one spot for people to check you out. You want anywhere else you can direct people?
I think that's about it. That's where I'm most active. I have a Snapchat account I'm kind of new to, and I think my name on there is the same. It's Crab. Same with Instagram. So those are my big 3. Mostly Twitter though. Okay,
cool. Well, Tom Crabtree, I appreciate you, man. It was fun. I had a good talk with you. We'll see if our predictions come true on this Clemson game. But yeah, thanks a lot, man. We'll hopefully talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
All right, see you, man.
Later.
We're glad you could join us for today's conversation. After you subscribe to the show, head over to thehawkcast.com or reach out to AJ directly on Twitter at @officialAJHawk to recommend future guests that will help us inspire people to keep talking. Thanks again, and we look forward to speaking with you next time on the Hawkcast.